When a multi-generational empire collapses, it rarely leaves behind a clean slate. It leaves behind a dangerous, unpredictable void. By the middle of the 6th century, the Gupta Empire, which had commanded northern India for hundreds of years, was gone. The previously unified region shattered into a dozen competing feudatory states and small republics, including Thanesar, Malwa, and Gauda. Among these surviving fragments was the state of Thanesar, ruled by the Pushyabhuti dynasty. They were desperately trying to maintain local control in a region where the old rules no longer applied. This post-Gupta power vacuum created a massive logistical hurdle for any aspiring ruler. Establishing authority meant building an entirely new system of statecraft from scratch, with absolutely no existing institutional momentum to rely on. For the Pushyabhuti family, this instability quickly turned fatal. The king of Gauda orchestrated the assassination of Thanesar's ruling monarch, Harshavardhana. Simultaneously, a secondary crisis erupted. Following the defeat of her husband in a separate conflict, Harshavardhana's sister, Rajashri, was captured and imprisoned. In April 606 CE, amidst this political and familial collapse, the throne passed to the murdered king's younger brother, Harsha. He was 16 years old. He faced an immediate dual-pronged imperative: deploy a tactical military force to rescue his sister, and launch a revenge campaign against the king of Gauda. He managed to track Rajashri to the local forests, rescuing her just as she was preparing to immolate herself. Harsha utilized this military momentum to begin absorbing the surrounding small republics and monarchies. By April 606, he had successfully integrated these territories from the Punjab down to central India, leading their representatives to crown him Maharaja-di-Raja, or Great King of Kings. This rapid consolidation transformed a localized rescue mission into a deliberate strategic unification of the northern subcontinent. Having secured the north, Harsha attempted to push his newly unified empire southward, where he encountered Emperor Pulakeshin II of the Chalukya dynasty, commanding southern territories with equal military capability. During the brutal winter campaign of 618 to 619 CE, their two forces collided at the Battle of Narmada. Pulakeshin II successfully repelled the invasion, completely halting Harsha's southward momentum. This stalemate resulted in a formal treaty. The Narmada River was designated as the permanent border separating Harsha's empire in the north from the Chalukyas in the south. Hitting this definitive geographic and military wall forced a change in Harsha's strategy. Unable to expand borders by the sword, he had to consolidate internal power through culture. To anchor this internal consolidation, Harsha shifted his imperial capital to Kanyakubja, known today as Kannauj. He engineered the city to function as a cosmopolitan beacon. The state actively funded massive infrastructure to attract global scholars and religious visitors. Harsha personally contributed to this deployment of cultural soft power through his own extensive literary output. He authored 3 major Sanskrit plays that remain widely studied today: Ratnavali, Priyadarsika, and Nagananda. The text of Nagananda reveals exactly what he was trying to achieve. The play deliberately weaves together a story about the Buddhist bodhisattva with prominent roles for Hindu deities, specifically Shiva's consort, Gauri. These literary works functioned as administrative tools, using shared mythology to bridge the gaps between his subjects' different cultural and religious identities. When modern historians examine Harsha's reign, they run into a stark contradiction regarding his personal religion. On one side of the ledger is the epigraphic evidence, his official state land grants and royal seals. These official documents trace his lineage back to worshippers of Surya and explicitly title Harsha himself as Parama Maheshwara, a supreme devotee of the Hindu god Shiva. On the other side are the journals of Xuanzang, a Chinese Buddhist traveler who spent time at Harsha's court, recording that Harsha was a devout Buddhist. Xuanzang noted the emperor banned animal slaughter, funded thousands of Buddhist stupas, and hosted massive moksha assemblies alongside a festival centered on the Golden Buddha. So how do we reconcile official Shaivite state records with claims of a zealous foreign missionary? The scholarly consensus indicates that Harsha likely remained personally a Shaivite Hindu throughout his entire life. Xuanzang, viewing the world through a strict sectarian lens, experienced a court heavily funding Buddhist institutions, misinterpreting this state-sponsored eclecticism for a personal religious conversion. Harsha wielded religious patronage as a political instrument. His broad tolerance was a deliberate, highly effective strategy meant to maintain stability across a deeply fractured, multi-faith society. To fully grasp the scale of Harsha's statecraft, we have to look past domestic Indian policy and examine the macro-geopolitics of 7th century Asia. This era was dominated by three major regional powers: Harsha's empire of Kannauj, the Tibetan Empire under King Xuanzang, and the Tang dynasty in China, ruled by Emperor Taizong. Navigating around the massive geographical barrier of the Himalayas, Harsha opened an active diplomatic channel, sending an official ambassador directly to the Tang Chinese court. This outreach was designed to establish lucrative cross-border trade networks and secure long-term geopolitical stability by aligning his borders with the most powerful state to the east. He successfully elevated northern India from an isolated, fractured region into a vital node within a vast, interconnected Asian diplomatic matrix. In 648 CE, Tang Emperor Taizong moved to reciprocate this diplomacy, dispatching an envoy named Wang Xuanzang to India. But when Wang arrived, he encountered a geopolitical shock. Harsha had died the year prior, in 647 CE, without a clear succession plan. The centralized authority immediately dissolved back into warring factions. Caught in this sudden vacuum, Wang Xuanzang and his small diplomatic escort were violently attacked by a local Indian usurper named Arunasva. Wang was forced to flee the subcontinent entirely, executing a desperate escape north into the harsh, hostile terrain of Tibet. There, he executed a remarkable diplomatic maneuver. Leveraging existing alliances between the Tang and Tibetan courts, Wang raised a massive joint army comprised of 7,000 Nepali and 1,200 Tibetan infantry. This joint force descended back across the Himalayas. They marched into India and decisively crushed Arunaswava's forces at the Battle of Chabuhelua. For 4 decades, Harsha's empire held together through a precarious balance of military deterrence, cultural patronage, and foreign alliances. However, the immediate disintegration of this system upon his death suggests it was a structure sustained by his personal governance rather than durable political institutions.